This is a true story, and like all true stories, it's about a salesman, taxidermy, and heavy drinking. A lot's going on in 1955. In Milwaukee, the National League wins the 22nd All-Star Game. In Jacksonville, riots break out over a singer named Elvis. And in New York City, traveling salesman Abbott Peterson's flight is delayed. Abbott did what anyone would do when their flight was delayed in 1955. Abbott came upon a taxidermy shop, and that's when he met Pete. And while it was Abbott who probably knocked Pete's head off, it was the flight attendant who used his tie to reattach it and suggested,
"He's cute. I bet he'd look good on his shirt."
Next thing you know, Arnold Palmer's wearing it golfing. Earl the Pearl Anthony was wearing it bowling. He was wearing it. These guys were wearing it. Even this guy. Back then, penguin clothing was synonymous with American leisure sports. Today, it's simply an American icon. Where does a good idea come from anyway? From genius, or hard work, or luck? Or maybe from this guy, a stuffed penguin, and a few of these? And while this probably doesn't happen every time, it did that time.
When you're trying to solve a problem, sometimes the best thing to do is look at it through the eyes of a kid. Well, there's this nice kid, Logan, and he's really into cars. But not because they're fast, big, loud, and shoot flames. In Logan's world, cars were slow. I'm talking Betty White in ankle weights slow.
You know what? For the last half-century, we've built cities around cars. No one even thought about the economic, environmental, and social problems they were going to cause in the future.
So there's this other nice kid, John Z. No, not that kid. Yeah, this little dude. He's a real people person, always trying to bring people together. But he's thinking,
When we're shut off in our cars, we're shut off from each other. We weren't meant to live stuck on highways in zombie mode.
Yeah. What if we could create the next form of transportation? Something that can solve some of the big issues while connecting people on the way.
these kids got to work, researching all types of public transportation. Ferries, buses, trains, all kinds of trains. And while all these inventions held incredible promise, everything was stuck on a fixed route. So they started thinking, how might people create their own network with their own vehicles? The way combis work in Zimbabwe, a network of private cars for everyone that can go anywhere.
Maybe we could put the power of sharing rides directly into people's hands.
Drivers with spare seats should be able to share them, make extra money, get paid on their own terms.
One little tap should get passengers a friendly ride, door to door, and help reduce environmental impact.
And we'll give out giant pink mustaches for the front of every car.
Whoa, cowboy. I think you need to take care of some personal grooming. That's better. So in 2012, these two transportation-obsessed little freaks started Lyft, the very first peer-to-peer ride-sharing community. And right away, people started to join the revolution, sharing music, stories, dad jokes, hair tips, peaceful contemplation. Artists were driving to support their dreams. Students were using the app to get to school and to pay for school. We had sandwich makers and sushi chefs, lawyers and lesbians, astronauts and Democrats and Republicans, walk-of-shamers. Hey, good for you. A ride for every reason, for everyone. Their idea caught on as far as the eye could see, and cities began to reshape themselves for a new generation. Access to affordable rides made distances smaller. Car ownership became obsolete. Shared vehicles breezed through greener spaces faster than ever before. And honking became strictly reserved for saying hello. You know what? Kids do love cars. And in the not-so-distant future, there's going to be another couple crazy kids connecting in the back of a Lyft, thinking up the next big idea that changes the world. That would be pretty cool.
Tom's didn't start with the idea for a shoe. In fact, it was the absence of a shoe that started it all.
Argentina was beautiful. The music, the colors, the food, the people. But as soon as I left the city, I noticed this need. I knew nothing about shoes and very little about giving. But I had a simple idea. What if a for-profit shoe company used giving as its business model? One where for every pair of shoes sold, a new pair would be given to a child in need. One for one. They'd be shoes for a better tomorrow. Tomorrow shoes. So I called them Toms.
I remember boxing some of the first Toms at Blake's apartment. We sold 10,000 pairs that first summer, so we gave away 10,000 pairs. 10,000 pairs that protected children from disease and infection, that completed the school uniform, helping increase enrollment.
We gave repeatedly, going back time and time again to the same communities, watching the kids grow up with Toms on their feet. 10,000 became 1 million, 2 million. A spontaneous response to a simple need had evolved into something much bigger than we had expected.
We were learning to give by giving, and we were getting some of it wrong. The criticism made us take a closer look at what we were doing, and this led us to a realization. One for One wasn't a corporate policy, it was a movement. We weren't a shoe company at all. We were a giving company, and this changed everything.
I was hired to grow the giving department. Now we have an entire team of people devoted to learning how to give better, to take feedback we had received, and to do more. We designed new giving products, winter boots for colder climates, sneakers for play in our city streets. We evolved from just providing aid to supporting economic development. We partnered with factories in Kenya, India, Ethiopia, hired artists to hand paint shoes in Haiti, and made a commitment to produce 1/3 of our giving shoes in local markets.
We work with local NGOs to deliver shoes right up to the last mile. But we saw that the communities needed more. They needed wells, prenatal care. There was malnutrition, devastating diseases caused by shoelessness. So we dedicated a percentage of our sales to help and took on podoconiosis as a personal cause, funding clinics devoted to eradicating the disease.
And then we saw another need. We took our learnings from giving shoes and applied them to sight. It was a new way of looking at One for One, not just giving a product, but helping restore sight through surgery, medical treatment, and prescription glasses. It's about pairing one person making a purchase with one person in need. It's about a simple transaction changing a life. This is what One for One is about.
And the future of One for One is about more than giving. It's about changing the way business is done around the world.
Toms didn't start with the idea for a shoe. In fact, it was the absence of a shoe that started it all.
We do at KPMG, we shape history. When President Roosevelt signed World War II's historic Lend-Lease agreement, he called on KPMG. France and most of Europe had fallen, and Britain was next. Winston Churchill turned to President Roosevelt, who signed the Lend-Lease Act, and Pete Marwick's senior partner William M. Black was tapped to execute this arsenal of democracy, which provided $60 billion in life-saving aid and arms to the Allies. What do we do at KPMG? We reunite families. When the Iranian hostage crisis left over 50 U.S. citizens in captivity for 444 days, the U.S. turned to KPMG Pete Marwick at a critical stage in the final resolution. $24 billion in conflicting claims had to be sorted, to the satisfaction of bitterly divided sides. KPMG assured that satisfaction, and the hostages came home. What do we do at KPMG? We champion democracy. When a historic election needed the trust of a nation, KPMG South Africa was there. With unclear results, the election threatened civil unrest. The KPMG team worked round the clock to certify the election, ensuring fairness and accuracy. Nelson Mandela became president, and South Africa became a young democracy. We're all here for a purpose. Inspire confidence, empower change.
In the beginning, there were 11 secret herbs and spices. But perhaps our biggest secret, to be quite precise, is the rest of the story. We hope to make it understood of exactly how we're so finger-licking good. It'll only take a moment as my story expands on our approach to cooking that's really quite hands-on. A Because way back when the Colonel wrote the book, he declared every piece of original recipe chicken be hand-prepared by a cook. Some other sage advice, and to this day we heed it, was to only cook small batches, as you need it. But before it makes its way to our cooks, our ovens, and our fryers, our chicken's been sourced locally, right here, from Aussie suppliers. It's this hands-on approach in a hands-free world that makes KFC chicken so delectably delicious. So while you ponder why that last line did not rhyme, I'll be licking my fingers, one at a time.